Hi there, and welcome to the ATS podcast with me, Will Brown, and John Soulsby. And today, a very special guest, Dr. Zoe Black, a resident sports psychologist, where we break down chunks of health and fitness information into bite sized pieces, remove a bunch of the noise, and just leave what's relevant. Uh, Today's topic, and for the next few episodes, we're going to be asking Zoe some questions about bigger kind of hand wavy topics in sports psychology that might not have the most obvious definitive answers, and we're just going to ask her to explain very complicated things extremely simply, which, you know, is always fun. How are we doing, Zoe?
Morning. I'm good, thank you, and I'm pleased that you kind of given that introduction. But I'm going to try my best explain complicated things simply.
Perfect. So, our first topic up for today, in an almost cryptic note that I sent you, is what is mindfulness? We hear that word chucked around a lot. It's a lot of people post about it on Instagram. You see it on a lot of I feel like it's entered the public space a lot as people have started to chat more openly about mental health and mental well-being, and you see the word mindfulness thrown around a lot. But what does it actually kind of refer to?
Well, you see it in the kind of public domain a lot more now, and that a lot of people still associate it with kind of meditating and the guru wishy-washy thing, which is absolutely not at all. And whilst it did kind of come from Buddhist um, sure, mindfulness is actually just about being non-judgmental, present moment awareness of the catchphrase, non-judgmental, present moment awareness. So what does that really mean? It is about being able to notice our thoughts and our surroundings and how our body feels without labeling things as good or bad. So it is about me noticing the sky is grey today and that there is, rainfall sky and not to the weather is so bad today. Or in my body noticing that, my heart is racing this morning and actually my stomach is different from usual. That is not necessarily a bad thing, but just noticing what is going on for us.
Oh, that's
Aware, being conscious, and not labeling it.
okey What was the I'm really sorry. What was the strapline thing we had at the start? I was busy paying attention. I could have forgot it. It was the present, oh,
Mental, present moment awareness.
non-judgmental present moment awareness. Well, I'm 100% stealing that. Yep.
And essentially, that is all it is. And so, whilst people associate mindfulness with meditating and breathing, we
Mm-hmm.
can do anything mindfully. So, a lot of the really good kind of apps and things out there that are pushing mindfulness actually might encourage you to go for like a mindful walk and really take in and notice your surroundings, notice how your feet are making contact with the ground, notice what you smell, really engage in your senses with, again, without that, this is good, this is bad, just ignore what is. Breathing is helpful and is one of the kind of most helpful tools because it is, a constant all the time and we find our brains wandering off onto other things or starting to label, the rain falling from the sky, oh, it's so miserable. We can
Mm-hmm.
always kind of bring ourselves back to noticing our breath. So quite often that's where kind of mindfulness strategies and things start. Always have with you that you can always really tune into and pay attention to, noticing your stomach rising and falling and the inhale and the exhale. That's why
So,
I think the two things get branded together.
okay. I was gonna ask why do you think breathing seems to be a fairly common thread between a lot of these? Um, yeah, a lot of these kind of strategies, maybe, if you call them that.
Definitely. like when we pay attention to our breathing, it can kind of help us regulate how we're feeling. So you put being consciously aware of how we're breathing into practice, and you're probably going to notice you're feeling more relaxed, which is obviously helpful, which makes the association with mindfulness quite nice. And it also just gives us that constant to kind of ground ourselves. That makes sense.
Interesting. The oh, what was my question? I just had one and it slipped. Um, is this kind of in the moment awareness typically to try and combat, let's call them very judgmental and not in the moment things, that might be kind of roots for things like anxieties or other kind of, what would you call them, negative headspaces?
The kind of good mindfulness terminology, it's kind of, is this helpful or unhelpful?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to kind of be able to, when we're thinking those thoughts that are unhelpful, and almost choose not to listen to them. So it's saying that I'm having this thought, and I'm just going to notice it and let it be. I'm not going to, we talk about fusing or like attaching to our thoughts and fall into that kind of story of the weather's rubbish, my run's going to suck because I'm going to get wet, it's going to be slippy, it's just going to be a bad day. So quite quickly, performance or sport related or otherwise, we can fall into quite like a slippy cycle of thoughts. And so if we can be mindful and be present in that moment, not only can we not try not to fall into that trap, but we can also just give more attention to what we're actually doing in front of us. You're trying to lift something really heavy and you're busy thinking about, I don't know, the dinner I made last night or a conversation that you had in the morning, you're not giving all your attention and energy to what you're doing right now. So especially in sport, and especially when you're lifting heavy things, I think it can be quite important to really be focused, concentrated on what you're doing.
Yeah, I tend to find lifting heavy things kind of overrides a lot of the non in the moment things due to the horrendous like feeling of being crushed to death.
Yeah.
It takes over pretty quickly when you're like, oh, this is so heavy.
When you're lifting, you don't, well, hopefully you don't spend, that however long it is, thinking about what happens if I get crushed to death here, because the chances are that it's going to end not as helpfully if that's what you're busy thinking about.
That's true. Although our standard procedure is everyone knows that they're just meant to load on like I don't know about 4 to 8 more plates than were on the bar and then phone the ambulance just so like when the people arrive they're like, oh my god, it took like 6 guys to get the weight off the person. Oh, so heavy.
It's a story that way.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Perfect.
It's
So
exactly it.
yeah. So what do you think, or maybe yeah, what could people either look up or experiment with doing in their kind of everyday everyday kind of life, but also related to training that would improve their mindfulness, but also potentially have some kind of leeway into helping out their training. Again, we've used this analogy of thinking about like a run and not looking at, oh, the weather's shit, oh, it's going to be slippy, oh, I'm going to have a crap run. Like, you're already setting yourself up badly if you're already thinking that kind of stuff, like, before you go out. Like, it could be fine. Like, you might get a bit wet, but, like, it's fine. Just wear a cagoule. Like,
The cagoule.
I had, when you said cagoule, the image of like those Mackinac sacks that you used to get when you were young, you would roll up
Yep.
into a little
oh, yeah,
bit.
100%.
It was a great question, and I suppose there's a couple of different things that people could try. The first, you've got to notice your thoughts to then be able to decide whether you're listening, it's helpful or unhelpful, or you're going to listen to it or not. So the first thing is actually just listening to the narrative
Mm-hmm.
that's going on inside your head. And for some of us, we're already really in tune with it, we're already really aware with it. Maybe it's a really busy brain with lots of thoughts. For others, it might not be that their brain is that busy and that there's that much self-talk kind of going on. One way that's really simple to do that, and you probably would prefer to do this in your own company, is just to say those thoughts out loud and hear them. Your approach would be to journal and write it down and have a look and think, okay, actually, is this, am I noticing these thoughts as they come in, or is it just as I put them on paper? So thinking them out loud by writing them down, the easiest way to noticing them. Tune with what the thoughts are going on in your brain. It's, can we ask ourselves, is this helpful or unhelpful?
It's interesting
and
that
quite often,
no, sorry, continue.
Because quite often it's the unhelpful thoughts that we get really stuck in and kind of find ourselves in this slippery or vicious cycle of thoughts. So it's, how do we actually choose and notice that it's a conscious choice to say, okay, this is just a thought and I actually want to focus back as I was doing in the moment.
Yeah, it was interesting. Sorry, I was just gonna ask about potentially not noticing thoughts until you're writing them down. Maybe that just sounds funky to me, in that, like, how do you have thoughts that you don't perceive? Like, that seems weird. It's curious. It's like, it just doesn't it almost kind of doesn't click in my head of how you can have a thought but not know you're having a thought. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I suppose sometimes it's so subconscious or associative, like we associate it's raining. And so it's almost encouraging you to actually pick into a little bit more. Okay, it's raining, that's a fact. Why are we labeling that bad? Asking ourselves that question of, okay, we're jumping to step 5, can we unpick steps 2, 3 and 4 and why we're coming to that conclusion, in order to realize that actually that label is not helpful. It's taken us away from what we could be doing today, or what could be more helpful.
Okay.
Nice.
Really good at going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking was, you mentioned a lot about like negative thoughts and trying to be mindful of them. Is there anything like, not wrong, but are positive thoughts something we should be mindful of, and then maybe not focus on them too much as well, or are they kind of like absolutely fine, good to go?
It depends on the context and the purpose, and positive self-talk and positive thoughts are like kind of maybe giving us a confidence boost and keeping us motivated. Sometimes equally, I'm sure you're aware, there's a bit of a movement around that kind of everything must be positive all the time is also just not reality. It might be raining on my washing outside, that's not helpful. So being like, yay, it's raining is actually not helpful. So it's kind of giving space to accept that not everything is going to be great all the time, and if we do attach too much to that kind of positive self-talk, we sometimes find ourselves in a bit of like incongruence, a bit of a battle with ourselves. I'm trying to make this positive, but actually I feel awful today, or this is not great. So that kind of is a great book. I think I said this to you before. Well, the happiness trap, the trap of thinking that everything needs to be positive and everything needs to be happy, and quite often that's
no, it was just making me think when we were talking about ignoring potentially not listening to the positive ones super often as well. You just turn into a bit of again, a mild reference, but the neutrals from Futurama, who are essentially that, like, emotionless.
Just noticing them, and that choice, it is a choice, in the same way that you choose whether you're going to have some porridge with a banana for breakfast or you're going to go for the full fry up.
That's spooky. That's literally just what I ate. That's freaking me out.
Well, just mind reading skills there.
Yeah. See, I was like, that's the next level. That's how you get the DR. That's like the PhD. You got to actually be telepathic.
If only. But yeah, it is a choice. What thoughts am I listening to today? And how am I not getting stuck in them?
Awesome, cool. Well, is there anything else you would like to kind of sum up with mindfulness, or if possible, can we just redo that quote? I know we've done it a couple of times, but the
Mental
non-judgmental in the moment awareness, is that right?
present moment awareness.
Present moment awareness.
Only other thing I would say is, uh, and it takes like any other skill, time, practice,
Mm-hmm.
effort, making a lot of mistakes with it to learn from it. And there are apps, some free, some cost a bit of money. There's also YouTube, some really good resources there that if it is something somebody's interested in, they can kind of deep dive into without having to spend any money. But yeah, it doesn't come overnight.
Perfect. Thanks, Zoe. And we will all see you guys again in episode 35.